thank you for sticking around, for being here today. And I promise to make it authentic. I know you've heard a lot about AI and a lot about the transformation and the what's to come. And we go to a lot of these things. And you always see executives up on stage talking about, this is the year of AI. This is the year of transformation. And the truth is that it's hard. It's really hard. In fact, I run a large engineering team of about 1,000 engineers, and I'm responsible for both building the products with software engineers and also for the user experience and selling products. The AWS Marketplace is a B2B marketplace with about 30,000 software and professional services and data products that we sell primarily to business customers, to enterprises, to startups. And it's a hard sell. Making an enterprise sell is an involved motion. And introducing AI into those motions and getting our teams to move faster has been hard. Let's face it. 18 months ago, 2 years ago, if you're an engineer, if you're a UX designer, you hear the people on stage like me waving their hands and saying, AI is going to change your life, and it didn't change much. I can speak from personal experience. I have a large engineering team, and about 18 months ago, yes, we saw some quality improvements. Autocomplete, inline code suggestions were getting better, but actual velocity, when the leaders were standing on stage and saying, do more with less, AI is going to deliver results, the truth on the ground was different. But then something changed. Something actually changed about 18 months ago, and especially at the beginning of 2025. So what I'm here to do today is to tell my story, to talk about what I've actually seen change, because I'm responsible for the customer's success on the AWS Marketplace and other products in my portfolio. But I'm also responsible for the engineer's success, for the UX designer's success, for the product manager's success. And I've actually seen them be more successful over the last 18 months. And I want to try to share what has actually changed. What have we introduced? What new tools, techniques, and what have we learned, really, in the last 6 to 18 months? If we rewind back to 2023, we were still in this world of POCs, especially when it came to generative AI. We've been using AI at Amazon for well over a decade. I think our earliest AI services came out in 2015 to 2017. I've been selling machine learning models on the AWS Marketplace since 2017. So AI has been with us for a long time. We've been using it, and many of you in building customer experiences, whether that's in retail or B2B contexts, you'll know it's been slowly shaping things. But in terms of actually helping us, say, produce a mock-up that you can hand to a developer and have that developer take the mock-up and convert it into code and create a better customer experience with higher conversion rates, that was still kind of a pipe dream until recently. Then things started to really change with the new generation of large language models that came out around 2023 and 2024, and this corresponds with the rise of ChatGPT, and we have our Q, Amazon Q family, or Anthropic, whatever you use. There was better tech, better large language models, and better tooling to go with them. For developers, we had better command line tooling, better plugins for our development environments, and suddenly things started to get a little better, but we still didn't trust it. In 2024, it was still in the realm of betas, in proof of concepts. Hallucinations are a thing, and they were definitely a thing 12 to 18 months ago. But the models continue to get better, the tooling continues to get better, and customers really started to wake up to the possibilities of AI. In my world, that means B2B purchases, and they started to trust AI to help with their purchasing decisions. And that's, in my world, where it started to move into production, where it started to move into value. Value for software developers meant that they can trust the code coming out the other end of these tools. And value for customers means that they could start to trust the AI-generated recommendation, product comparisons, et cetera. And a lot of things needed to come together for that to happen. So here we are at this inflection point. And I'd say a year ago, well, I know this, I won't say, I'll assert that a year ago I had about 50 to 60% of my engineering team actively using as engaged users of AI. And what that actually means in our world is they were using a command line tool like a Q CLI, or perhaps use a Claude Code or a Gemini CLI. It doesn't really matter. If you're writing software in a software development environment, you're probably using Visual Studio Code or IntelliJ or Eclipse. But they started meaningfully using the plugins, in our case, Amazon Q, but it could be whatever, instead of just to complete that line of code, to generate new code that they could trust. And it went from, oh, the code that I generate, I have to go back and verify, so I'm actually not sure if I'm saving time, to I can generate test data, I can generate tests, I can generate net new code that I can trust, and I can build new things with the time that I'm saving. And then the more recent wave with UX and product development meant that the other parts of the software development lifecycle have also started to get compressed. This drove trust, it drove adoption, and suddenly I have 100% of my team not just using AI tools, but as engaged AI users. And it's not just software developers. It's UX designers. In fact, some of the biggest beneficiary are UX and product management. And they've moved from this world of prompt-driven development of what I sometimes call reactive AI to proactive AI, where they're employing agents. The agents we use over 400 MCP servers in my team alone. And if you don't know what that is, just imagine a scenario where you type a command into a console or into whatever program you're using, and it farms that workout as atomic tasks to hundreds of distinct agents that are researching on your behalf and coming back and coalescing the information. In parallel, what happened is it wasn't just the agents, it wasn't just the large language models, but the tools themselves became a lot smarter. They became smarter in taking a plan or a spec and breaking that into a bunch of atomic tasks and farming those tasks out, because it turns out that small tasks perform better. You might have heard people talk about context windows or tokens, and people saying, oh, you can have 1 million tokens in whatever latest model. Turns out that actually doesn't matter that much, because if you use the context window all the way up towards that million, the quality gets real bad. Let me tell you, the hallucination's like circa 2 years ago. But if you break the tasks into small units, by the way, this could be UX, this could be code, whatever's coming out the other side, is better. So the tools got better at doing that, the underlying models got better, the trust grew, and adoption grew, and suddenly we went from prompt-driven development to spec-driven development, where you build plans, complicated plans that then agents go off and do on your behalf. And it created a virtuous cycle, and productivity went up. And what that means is productivity, in my case, has actually gone up 22%. Now, a lot of people talk about 5x productivity improvements, and they're those same people waving their hands and say, do more with less a few years ago. I'm accountable for actually producing features, and I'm here to tell you that I have yet to meet a CTO or a CIO who's done more than 20 to 30% productivity improvements in real metrics. So we're at about 22%, and that's considered very good. What that means is that my developers are shipping code to production at a 22% higher rate to production than they were less than a year ago. That's a lot. We've shipped 15% more features with a slightly smaller team this year than we did last year. That's a lot. And if people say, well, are you going to shrink your team by 15%? Have you seen my backlog? My backlog is huge. What's happening is we're getting asked to do more, and we're able to deliver more. We're not doing more with less. We're more productive, and we're delivering more thanks to AI. And honestly, it's the first time that I can say this. What's interesting, though, is that we only spend a third of our time, we being the engineering team, coding. We spend a third of our time designing, deciding what to code, and then a third of our time coding, and then a third of our time debugging, doing ops and maintenance. It turns out that the bookends of those, the 2/3 that aren't coding, are where we're getting the biggest productivity gains. Our UX designers, for the first time, I showed this, I don't know if he's here, to a guy I was sitting beside at dinner, a nice guy who works at Tiffany last night. And I showed him a screenshot of a mock-up. We have a design system called Cloudscape that I'll show you later that we generate completely automated using a spec with AI. He said, this is the first time I've seen a real engineering team that's developing mocks 100% with AI and then using those mocks to develop code, boilerplate code for our developers. We're doing this every day now. So our UX designers are able to develop a press release or PR FAQ. If you've ever learned about Amazon and how we work, we write a press release first. And we can use AI to help generate that press release, take that press release, and again, use AI to generate a blueprint or a spec, take that spec and actually generate working mockups that we export to Figma. And then that Figma mockup gets converted into code, again, guess what? Using AI. And then AI helps us deploy that code more efficiently, test that code more efficiently, and maintain that code more efficiently. And suddenly, it's a really big deal. We're seeing compression on the product development side, on the design side, and on the ops side, way more than 22%, somewhere between 30 to 50%. So I think we can get to double productivity by next year. Real doubling, not hyperbole. Real, like Matt's on the hook for shifting features, productivity. And that's exciting. But nobody cares about Matt's team. Let's be honest. I'm here to serve customers. We're all here to serve customers. And this is where I also get excited. Because I don't know why it's blacked out there. I guess AI generation failed on that, that screenshot generation. It's not perfect yet. But the customer experiences are improving too. So not only were we able to ship more features, But these features are better. Now, what I have up here is a PDP, as many of you will know, a product detail page in my AWS Marketplace site. And they've gotten a lot better. If you've used Marketplace over the last 18 months, you'll know that we have all sorts of product-led growth features now that are resulting in significantly high conversion rates for our sellers. It turns out that despite initial seller hesitation, buyers love seeing product comparisons. Sellers don't want to see their competitors on their PDP, but it turns out if you put your competitors there with good information that buyers can trust, the conversion rates for that seller are significantly higher. In fact, we found that if we have a well-built, AI-built a lot of the time, product-led growth feature on our PDP pages, we have 9 times higher conversion rates over the first 180 days after that PDP is first viewed. Now, if you're thinking 180 days, that's a long buying cycle. Remember, this is B2B software purchases. No one's buying software like Salesforce in 1 day or Contentsquare in 2 days. These are long buying cycles, but we're able to hook and have 9 times higher conversion rates with effective product-led growth features powered by AI, like AI-powered product comparisons. What you see on the screen here, the products are chosen by AI based on the characteristics, what it can glean from the buyer who's showing up to the PDP, and then it generates not just comparisons, but the comparisons that will resonate with that buyer. It also takes all of the reviews. We use G2 for third-party reviews. We have our own first-party reviews, then we partner with companies like PureSpot to use AI, again, to help customers develop more reviews. 98% of buyers like to read reviews before they buy in our types of buying motion, and we're able to have reviews, many more of them, but have those reviews be synthesized with AI, again, increasing conversion rates. One thing that's really hard when you're buying enterprise B2B products is pricing. Pricing is really hard to figure out. So again, we're using AI now to auto-synthesize pricing and give insights. This is how you should think about how this thing is priced. Pretty soon we'll get to the point where we'll say, this is how much I think you should pay. And if you're sitting there as a seller in the audience, that sounds kind of scary, but guess what? It'll increase conversion rates. So yes, I'm focused on productivity of my own team, but I'm maniacally focused on using AI to ultimately help buyers make more informed buying decisions and help sellers sell more faster. And the results are incredible so far. We've rolled out these AI-powered product recommendations across 2,500 listings just in the past few months. We've rolled out semantic search. We have a bunch of new features in the hopper. We just rolled out AI-powered pricing insights. None of this stuff was on my roadmap, but guess what? I had time for it because we've been able to do more with AI-powered development. So again, that virtuous cycle. What this has done is driven huge demand for the technologies powering this kind of thing. You've heard a lot about it today. Everyone wants an agent and a high-quality agent. Well, guess what? Now you can come to the AWS Marketplace and find that high-quality agent and read the reviews and look at the product comparisons and make a purchase. We launched an AI agents and tools category in our AWS Marketplace back in July. I set an initial launch target of 50, and I woke up in a cold sweat one night and said, Matt, that is too low. And we launched with 1,100 agents in July. We went from 50 to 1,100. We're now at 1,800 agents and agent-based tools in the marketplace. That just shows the customer demand for agentic technologies, because we're all waking up to how much of a big deal this is. This is not just hyperbole. This is changing how we work. It's changing how we sell. It's changing how we buy. I could give a whole other presentation on how we're using agents and AI to unlock co-sell. This is just touching on the edges of what we're using for development and for product-led growth sales. But as we know, the sale is just the first step. So I get my developers working faster. We ship all these features faster. We convert those leads to closed opportunities faster. And then the hard part, you got to maintain this stuff. And my support teams, as we started selling more and Marketplace grew, our ticket volume has gone through the roof. But guess what has not grown? My support team. We're able to support considerably more support tickets because of AI. In fact, 50% faster resolution time on support tickets now. And with all these new listings, like I mentioned, those 1,700 agent listings in the AWS Marketplace, that used to take work. Anyone who manages a catalog here, you'll know. It's super intensive. If you want a high-quality catalog, especially for a picky B2B buyer, you got to put a lot of work into validating those listings, to making sure that the PDPs are good, to making sure that it does what it says on the box. And we use AI for that now. And we've cut the validation time by 1/3. But we've actually gone further than that. We deploy agents now to go scour the internet and say, you said that this is an enterprise security solution, but over here on your own website, you said that it does something different. What's the deal? And we audit. We audit our catalog to make sure we have a better catalog of products for our customers. I think it was Alexander in the last presentation who said how support is so important and AI can only go so far. and I couldn't agree more. We're using AI for both validation, but also for spot checks to allow us to increase the quality of our product listings, to increase the quality of the catalog in a way that we couldn't do before. It was way too time intensive. We're saving time and not only creating better customer experiences, but improving the quality of those experiences for customers. Now, I promised a shot of that mock-up. It's an internal thing I took off our Slack. Hopefully, I don't get in trouble for showing you. So it's a little bit of a test. Now, unless you work for AWS, you probably can't tell where the errors are. But I bet there's a lot of UI professionals or UX designers out there, so maybe you can. I won't do a call-out, but there are 5 errors on the screen here. But that's pretty impressive. This mock-up that you see here was entirely generated for our Cloudscape design system using an internal tool we have called Venue, which is an AI tool that we have a huge data store, and it takes we train it on our design system, and then it generates mock-ups. No UI designer was involved in the creation of this 5 flawed, but pretty good mock-up. And we can export this directly to Figma in an automated way, and then get it to our developers so they can apply their business logic and start coding against it right away, or more specifically, their agents can write the boilerplate code against specifically. We're doing this today in production. This is a real shot of EC2, which is it doesn't matter what it is, but this is an actual mock-up that we've generated. And this gets converted to a clickable Figma demo that can then get in turn converted into code and shipped to production. So it's real, it's here, it's starting. It's not perfect, but it's getting a lot better. And I'll tell you, one thing that I learned is, first of all, you have to measure. I spouted a bunch of stats at you, like 22% and 98%. We measure, like at Amazon, like we're insane. Like I play it cool and casual, but I'm actually kind of crazy. Like I measure everything. And one thing that I measure in terms of productivity is not just more lines of code. Like, are you actually shipping quality software to customers? And what is the ticket volume against those features that you shipped? Is it better or worse? Like, is the AI pumping out crap code or not? We measure these things. And what I've learned is that the data that you tune your models on, that generate those mock-ups, is so important. Data is so important. I know it's a theme of this conference, and I'm here to say that's absolutely correct. Getting all of your data, making it accessible in a secure way, and grooming your data so you can use it to train those models to serve as knowledge bases for those agents is critical. Measurement is critical. Turns out the tools don't matter so much. A lot of people like to fight, like, oh, I use QCLI, I use Claude Code, it's better. Honestly, we don't see that much of a difference. I use like Gemini CLI at home, don't tell my boss. What matters more is the underlying LLM and how much you customize and tune the model, the AI model, to your use case. A lot of us work in very specialized domains. The models and the tuning, that matters. The tools on top of it that do the parallelization, yeah, it matters, but I see those differences largely fading away. But the data and tuning the models remains critical. The other thing I mentioned in passing that I'll just reinforce, and it's a little bit in the weeds and technical, but so important, is don't get suckered on the context window and all this stuff. People say a million tokens, it doesn't matter. The most important thing you need to do, whether you're in UX or coding or anything, is break things into small atomic tasks, and those models will perform so much better. So whatever tool you're using, whatever workflow you're using, make sure you break everything into small tasks. And then build a feedback loop. You still need a human in the loop. You still need to do that auditing, and you need to, if you're sophisticated, you can actually continually retrain your models and adjust your data and make yourself better over time with a virtuous loop. So that feedback loop is critical. And if you do that, you can achieve amazing things. I know this is a bit of a creepy picture, but I assure you it's positive. I've really gone from, honestly, a bit of an AI skeptic about 18 months ago to a huge proponent. I'm excited. I'm excited because, again, I have this huge backlog that's never ending. I can way back the back of the room, and I'm able to chip away at more of it now and get more of it done for customers at a higher quality. And suddenly, I can look ahead to this very near, immediate future that was science fiction like a year ago. Imagine a situation. Many of you work in retail or e-commerce or B2B. So imagine this situation. A customer or that customer's agent shows up to a marketplace or the agent for a marketplace, does an RFP as a service, does AI-powered product comparisons, reads analyst briefings automatically, the agent does, compares that, goes and buys that agent, multi-agent solution for a specific use case, It's a bank, perhaps, a super complex use case that used to take an enterprise sales motion for insurance fraud or something. It buys a SaaS solution, professional services, multiple agents to solve a specific insurance fraud use case. It makes that purchase autonomously using a private offer with custom T&Cs and custom pricing negotiated by agents. When they buy that solution, they get configured and deployed to AWS. They work with all of the services securely that you're already using, separate from that purchase that you just made. And then a support ticket gets opened by an agent within that application and gets resolved and closed by an agent at AWS. That sounds insane. We can do that today. So here we are. What are you going to do with it? I'm having fun, and I hope that these learnings inspired you to do some of the same yourself in your business. So when I put up a cheesy slide like this, it's not do more with less. It's like, wow, I think I can actually do this. Thank you.